Hollywood gave them the stage, but demanded silence in return. For decades, the unwritten rule was simple. You can be talented, you can be beautiful, you can be successful, but you cannot be openly yourself. These 12 actors shattered that agreement. Some lost roles they'd trained their whole lives for. Others faced industry whispers that their truth would limit their appeal. A few were told to choose between honesty and stardom. But they chose fire over fear, authenticity over approval. Their careers didn't follow the script Hollywood wrote for them. They rewrote it entirely. Some became legends, others are still fighting. All of them proved that living openly isn't career suicide, it's revolution. Subscribe to discover how these 12 stars transformed Hollywood by refusing to hide, and learn what it really costs to live your truth in an industry built on illusion. The flame that burned through silence. Andrew Matarazzo was never just pretty, he was haunting. He entered Hollywood with the kind of beauty that made directors look twice, but he stayed because he made them feel. That's the difference. A jawline gets you cast, but truth holds the lens, and Andrew never flinched from his. Born in Brazil and raised in Miami, Andrew grew up between cultures, languages, and expectations. He knew early that being sensitive, emotional, soft, queer, these were things the world tried to punish out of boys like him. So he learned survival strategies. Stay quiet, stay perfect, stay small. But survival isn't living. His breakout on Teen Wolf was ironic. He played a villain, a dangerous, magnetic presence viewers couldn't look away from. What they didn't know was that Andrew was channeling years of masked pain. The performance wasn't crafted, it was released. For years, he kept his identity off the record. Too many casting directors still whispered, "Don't be too open, don't scare the audience." But Andrew was done shrinking. In quiet interviews and subtle captions, he began naming it. He was queer and proud. Not loud, not flashy, just true. Today, he speaks openly, not as a statement, but as legacy. I used to think hiding would save my career. Now I know honesty saves my soul. He's building a future where young queer actors don't have to choose between art and self. His face may be carved from marble, but his power, that's fire. The prince who dared to be complicated. Hollywood tried to crown him rom-com king, heartthrob, Latino dream. But Taylor Zakhar Perez wasn't here for the crown. He was here to break the palace walls. Born to a Mexican-American family in Chicago, Taylor didn't grow up with privilege. No famous parents, no red carpet shortcuts, just raw talent and relentless focus. He built his career role by role, audition by audition, until the world met Marco Pena, the charming guitar-strumming force in the kissing booth too. Overnight, he became the crush. But Taylor wanted more than thirst. He wanted impact. In 2023, he said yes to Red, White, and Royal Blue, a queer political fairy tale. Some actors would have hesitated. Is it too gay? Will I lose my fan base? Taylor didn't blink. As Alex Claremont Diaz, he brought heat, humor, heartbreak, and hope. The chemistry was undeniable, the representation historic. And still the questions came. Is he gay? Is he straight? Why won't he define it? But maybe that's the point. Taylor's queerness isn't something to pin down and label. It's layered, lived, human. Through his advocacy for LGBTQ+ rights, his passion for Latinx visibility, and his refusal to dull his edges for the industry, he's turning ambiguity into activism. He's not here to fit your fantasy. He's here to stretch it, proving that representation without labels can be just as powerful as explicit declaration when backed by authentic advocacy and visible support for marginalized communities. Dancing through fire. Some actors arrived polished. Nico Greetham arrived bruised, burning, and already dancing. He grew up in Virginia, a boy who loved ballet in a world that told him boys shouldn't. He trained in secret sometimes, other times through slurs, through fear. But the stage gave him something real, a place where he didn't have to pretend to be smaller.
At 18, he stunned America on So You Think You Can Dance.
But Nico didn't just dance. He confessed with his body. Every step said, "This is what you tried to crush. I'm still here." Hollywood took notice. Power Rangers cast him as the Yellow Ranger. Safe, marketable. But Nico wasn't interested in safe. He was chasing something that hurt to look at. And he found it in American Horror Story NYC, playing a queer hustler navigating desire, danger, and dignity.
The performance was raw, vulnerable, terrifying, not because it was shocking, but because it was real. For once, a queer role wasn't a caricature, it was a cry. In 2022, Nico stopped hiding. I'm queer and I'm done playing it safe. Since then, he's been everywhere. Queer indies, pride campaigns, LGBTQ+ panels. Not screaming, just showing up fully. He tells young artists, your softness is not a flaw, it's your revolution.
Nico didn't just survive Hollywood, he's redefining it, one painful, gorgeous step at a time, proving that vulnerability on screen can translate to power in real life. The horror prince who refused to die quietly. Cooper Koch has the kind of face Hollywood adores. Angular, blue-eyed, eerily symmetrical. He could have coasted, could have played the clean-cut heartthrob, booked romantic leads, and smiled through press junkets. Instead, he walked straight into the shadows and lit them up. His breakout in They Them wasn't your average gay role. It was horror, conversion camps, psychological torment. Cooper didn't blink. He didn't flinch from queer pain. He embodied it, not for shock, but for survival. Then came Swallowed, a queer body horror film about desire, fear, and the grotesque beauty of being too much. Critics called it uncomfortable. Some audiences walked out. Others whispered, "Thank you." Cooper never apologized. He told press, queerness isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's bloody, and sometimes that's where the power is.
Suddenly, he wasn't just an actor, he was a question mark. Should queer actors stop playing trauma, or do we still need to see it to heal? Some accused him of fetishizing pain. Others said he was reclaiming it. What's clear, Cooper is not playing it safe. He's redefining what it means to be a queer star in horror, a space that's always welcomed monsters, but rarely welcomed truth. Now he's being eyed for major horror reboots.
They want his blood, his beauty, his bravery. And Cooper, he wants the audience to squirm and stay, proving that discomfort can be transformative when handled with intention. When the spotlight finally found him, Tramell Tillman was the kind of actor whose face lingered in memory, even when you couldn't recall his name. Tall, handsome, dark-haired, with a voice that could command a boardroom or whisper a secret. It all hinted at more than just screen presence. Then, Severance happened, and he exploded into global view. Tillman didn't start as an actor.
He spent a decade in the nonprofit sector, helping others while hiding his own hunger to be seen. Then he dared to show up, to audition, to fight, to risk, and the industry took notice. But here's the part they don't always tell you. He was openly gay, and he feared for cost. He admits the fear of being typecast, of being silenced, of being invisible again, and yet he persevered.
He became one of the first openly gay black men nominated in the Emmy Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series category. What does it mean to watch someone like Tramell? It means watching someone dismantle the script that told him to stay small. Dazzling looks, check. Magnetic performance, check. But most importantly, open authenticity. He shows the kid who hates his reflection that maybe the mirror is lying.
He's not just compelling because he looks good on camera. He's powerful because he owned the camera that refused to see him. When he leaned into his queerness, his blackness, his vulnerability, he set the scene on fire. Greek god looks, wearing truth like armor. Zane Phillips is face model flawless, tall, sculpted, chiseled. The kind of looks that break filters in tabloid covers. But you don't become an icon just for your jawline. You become an icon when you flip the script. Zane grew up in Texas, moved to New York to chase Broadway dreams, then Hollywood followed. He landed roles in queer-lit projects like Fire Island and a starring role in the series Glamorous. He didn't just play gay, he embraced it. I'm gay, I'm done hiding. Some glare and ask, why flaunt it? But here's the truth, he is flaunting it, and he should. Because for too long, the ideal was straight presenting with gay undertones. Zane abandons that. He gives you full color, full truth, hot as hell.
He's not allowed to be the nice gay friend anymore. He's the lead, the desire, the controversy. When he announced starring in the queer erotic thriller alongside Gully Aladdin, the internet hissed. Are they going too far? Maybe. Or maybe they've been going too little for too long. Zane's story isn't soft, it's brazen. Because he wants the kids who turned off their screens when the gay moment ended to turn them on, to stay, to feel, to believe.
He represents a new generation refusing to make queerness palatable or secondary, insisting instead that LGBTQ+ stories deserve center stage with all their complexity, sexuality, and unapologetic visibility fully intact. The man who lost Superman, but gave us truth. Imagine looking at someone and thinking that could have been Superman, because it almost was for Matt Bomer. He auditioned, almost landed the role, then lost it for being gay. He doesn't hide it. He calls it what it is, weaponized.
He's been a dreamboat since White Collar, a sex symbol in Magic Mike, a powerhouse in roles that ask more than, are you handsome? They ask, will you fight for your truth? In 2012, he publicly came out while accepting the Steve Chase Humanitarian Award. He thanked his husband, Simon Halls, and their kids, because for him, the show of strength wasn't in hiding, it was in being unapologetically himself.
But make no mistake, this isn't a comfortable story. He still says he lost parts because of who he is. The industry still whispers, the mirror still invades, and yet he keeps smiling, keeps starring, keeps standing tall, because pretty faces fade, truth is forever. And here's the compelling part. He's still got it, the looks, the presence, but now with layers, scars, legacy, pride. His career after coming out proved that audiences never needed the lie. They just needed honest, brilliant performances from an actor who could finally breathe. Matt Bomer's journey demonstrates that sometimes what seems like career suicide is actually liberation, and that the roles lost for living authentically are less valuable than the integrity gained by refusing to hide. The action star who made truth a weapon. He carried the body of a hero before he owned the truth of a human. Luke Evans blasted into Hollywood on the wings of gods and villains, Apollo in Clash of the Titans, Bard the Bowman in The Hobbit, Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. He had the jaw, the chiseled looks, the accent, the swagger, the perfect package. But behind the spotlight, secrecy, expectation, self-doubt. Raised in South Wales in a strict Jehovah's Witness community, Luke knew from a young age that his desires were at war with his environment. I thought I'd die at Armageddon, he admitted. Fear and faith warred inside him. School bullies didn't just mock his sexuality, they mocked his difference before he even understood it. By 16, Luke had fled the only world he'd ever known to chase the one he could dream. When he emerged in Hollywood, he didn't just act. He conquered genres never intended for openly gay men. He portrayed action heroes, love interests, villains. Yet the industry still wondered, can a gay man lead? Luke answered by doing exactly that. In interviews, he revealed how he was bullied for being gay before he even understood what it meant, and that being handsome enough didn't shield him from the closet. It bought him entry into worlds where his identity still had to stay silent. Today, Luke walks red carpets with a partner by his side, writes memoirs, and uses his body and presence not just to attract, but to represent. He became the kind of leading man who whispers, I'm gay. I'm here. I'm human. Too foreign for Korea. Too Asian for Hollywood.
Teo Yoo didn't ask to be a symbol, but when the world keeps erasing people like you, sometimes existence becomes resistance. Born in Germany to Korean parents, Teo grew up between languages, cultures, and skin-deep assumptions. For years, he wasn't Korean enough for Korea and too Asian for Hollywood. He studied philosophy before finding his calling in acting. And when he found it, he came for everything. His breakthrough came quietly, devastatingly, in past lives as Hae-sung, the man who almost had the love of his life. The performance wasn't flashy. It was slow ache, a masterclass in restraint. Viewers sobbed, critics swooned. Suddenly, a man they once overlooked became the emotional epicenter of global cinema. And then came the quiet bombshell. Teo was queer.
Softly revealed in interviews, not headline chasing, just true. Some fans flinched, especially in Korea. Why now? Is this real? Will this ruin the fantasy? But fantasy was never the goal. Freedom was. Teo knew what he was risking: leading man status, Asian masculinity's delicate reputation, roles already too scarce. But he said it anyway.
And for thousands of queer Asian kids who had never seen someone like them desired, respected, centered, he became a lighthouse. In an industry obsessed with loud, Teo wins with quiet devastation. Because when someone tells the truth so gently, you can't help but hear it, proving that grace can be just as revolutionary as defiance.
The working class hero's complicated truth. Russell Tovey built his career playing the quintessential British everyman, the mate you'd have a pint with, the reliable friend, the romantic interest who wins through persistence and charm. His role as George in Being Human showcased vulnerable masculinity, while his appearance in HBO's Looking finally allowed him to play explicitly gay characters on major television.
But for years before Looking, Tovey navigated the tricky space between being out in his personal life and being cast primarily in straight roles. He spoke candidly about advice he received early in his career. Thank his parents for not letting him be too camp growing up, because it allowed him to play straight more convincingly. The comment sparked controversy in the LGBTQ+ community. Critics pointed out it reinforced harmful hierarchies about acceptable versus unacceptable ways to be gay. Tovey later apologized, acknowledging his words had been hurtful and reflected internalized prejudices he was working to unlearn. His career illustrates complex negotiations gay actors make with an industry that often rewards those who can pass while marginalizing those who can't or won't conform to heteronormative presentation.
Tovey has been open about his relationship with rugby player Steve Brockman, providing visibility for same-sex couples in sports-adjacent spaces. His journey demonstrates that even actors who are technically out still face pressure about how they present their sexuality, and that examining internalized homophobia is an ongoing process rather than a single moment of realization, a reminder that coming out is never finished.
The revolutionary act of being excellent. Colman Domingo embodies resilience, talent, and integrity. A gay Black man who overcame countless invisible barriers to rise among the finest actors of his generation. Born in Philadelphia, Colman built his career with unwavering dedication and unshakable belief in his own identity and worth.
From Fear the Walking Dead to Euphoria, to his transformative Oscar-nominated performance as Bayard Rustin in Rustin, he consistently brings emotional depth and sharpness to every role. What makes him stand out is his refusal to let sexuality become an obstacle or defining characteristic. In an industry where Black men have struggled for opportunities, being gay adds another layer of challenge. But Colman never let that stop him from shining.
He doesn't flaunt it, nor does he hide it. He simply lives authentically, and that presence itself becomes a political act. Married to designer Raul Domingo, Colman speaks about his personal life casually, without embellishment. For him, living authentically doesn't require bold declarations, just inner peace and quiet pride.
He proves that sometimes the most revolutionary thing is simply being normal, existing visibly in spaces that historically excluded you, playing complex characters without your sexuality becoming the story.
His success playing Bayard Rustin brought crucial visibility to a figure largely erased from history.
His Oscar nomination cemented his place among Hollywood's elite, while honoring LGBTQ+ activists whose struggles made his visibility possible, demonstrating that authentic representation matters and that excellence transcends all labels. From Bridgerton to Broadway bravery, Jonathan Bailey's entire job in Bridgerton is making audiences believe in romance. The growl in his voice, the jaw clench, the way he looks at Kate like she's both problem and prayer, that's textbook perfect leading man. Netflix built an entire season on the fantasy of Anthony Bridgerton, the grumpy Viscount who needs the right woman to melt him. Rewind to his 20s.
He's in audition rooms hearing rules. There are two things we don't want to know: if you're an alcoholic or if you're gay. Same level of risk, same level of keep that away from the brand. Those words weren't even said directly to him. They were advice passed to a friend. But in this industry, one sentence from one powerful person echoes through generations. So he learned to play straight long before Shondaland called. Not just on camera, in waiting rooms, at rap parties, walking streets when fans might be filming. You pitch your voice lower. You police your wrists. You delete photos before posting because you're standing too close to the guy you actually like. Then Bridgerton blows up, and here's the plot twist Hollywood didn't plan. When he finally says, "I'd much rather hold my boyfriend's hand in public than hide for a part," his career doesn't die. It gets bigger. Wicked, Jurassic World, magazine covers, all while openly gay. He's still playing the perfect straight man, but now audiences know he doesn't have to live that way. The performance stays, the shame doesn't. 12 actors, 12 different journeys, one shared revolution, choosing authenticity over approval. These men didn't just come out, they came through. Every scar became a spotlight. Every moment of doubt transformed into determination. Some lost roles they'd trained their entire lives for. Others faced whispers that their truth would limit their appeal. A few were told to choose between honesty and stardom. But they proved that living openly isn't career suicide, it's evolution. The industry that once demanded silence is slowly learning that authenticity sells better than illusion. Their stories aren't just about representation, they're about liberation. For every young person watching who sees themselves reflected in these faces, the message is clear. You don't have to choose between your truth and your dreams. You don't have to shrink to succeed. You don't have to perform straightness to prove your talent. These 12 stars rewrote the script Hollywood handed them. They showed that softness can coexist with strength, that vulnerability is power, that grace can be just as revolutionary as defiance. They proved that the audience never needed the lie. They just needed honest, brilliant performances from actors who could finally breathe. The closet didn't protect their careers. It nearly destroyed their souls, and walking away from that prison didn't end their success. It amplified it. Subscribe and share to ensure the next generation knows these stories and that no one has to choose between authenticity and ambition ever again.